Greetings and welcome to the Home Slice. This is a standard intro. If you already know what's up with my 40mm Manila Rope testing, the ANDE rope test, then you can skip to this time listed on screen. This is where the actual edge test begins. If you haven't been here before, then you've caught me in the middle of a testing series where I'm taking Victorinox knives because they're simple steel that's mainly just steel. There's not a bunch of extra alloys and carbide things going on in them. And I'm testing what different sharpening stones do to them. I'm testing fine, medium, and coarse stones individually. Then I'm taking the best from those and I'm making what's called a dual grit edge. If you're new to the channel, a dual grit edge is where you sharpen one side coarse or medium and the other side of the edge you sharpen fine. It has some really interesting characteristics. Usually it creates an aggressive edge that lasts longer than it normally would with either coarse or fine, with some exceptions, which we're testing to find out. Anyway, my test consists of, I've got a little goofy rig that I slice through a 1 centimeter thick sisal rope, and it's on a 45-degree wedge. It's intended to transfer that force down, and then I measure how many kilograms of pressure it took to slice through the rope while holding the rope vertical. That's intended to take forward motion and quantify how much pressure it took to slice through. This gives you some rough idea of edge aggression. The next test is to cut through a 40mm thick Manila rope, and then I test on a best machine tester to test how keen and nice the edge stayed. I do that until it's over 400 grams on the best tester, checking with microscope and checking to see when it loses shaving capability in between tests. After 3, I will hammer the edge into a pine piano leg, and that's just to see if any of the edges break on impact. There are certain sharpening methods I've found that create an edge that's not as robust to impact tasks, and I want to kind of weed those out because for a working edge, I want it to be reasonably durable. Anyway, that's what we're testing for today. In just a second, we'll skip right over to the test footage, and I will let you know what the finishing stone that we're actually testing was.
Here we are with the Venev 5.3 Micron OCB Diamond 25% concentration water stone. Get a little bit of a better reading right off the bat, but as we check the microscope we see that I'm having the same problem that I had with the 7.5. I was sort of doubting whether or not what I was seeing was an incomplete reprofiling on the 7.5, but here on the 5.3 I can confirm that's definitely what's happening. I went back to the stone and worked it for quite some time, and this is the edge that came out. Much better finishing all the way out to the apex now. So doing a second best test, that first one was 128, but this fully reprofiled blade is going to register a little bit lower at 119. Our initial aggression suffers slightly. The Venev 7.5 registered at 1.8 kilos after you subtracted the rig, and this one is up to 3.0, so finer has resulted in us losing some aggression, and that could be felt as I completed this first pass through the ANDE rope, although for the first pass the aggression was fairly admirable. An increase of 239 grams seen after the first pass, and it is no longer shaving afterward. Upon the second pass I make a bit of a mistake here, and you can see as I put the knife through, the knife slips across the pedestal a little bit, ruining the reading. So trying that again, that loss in aggression becomes manifest with a number of 530, and the test is over after only 2 passes. Moving on to an analysis of how much aggression has been lost, we find that as the Venev 7.5 came to a number of 8 kg, or 6 after you subtract the rig weight, this has gone to 6.3 kg, which is just slightly worse. The edge does not look like it has sustained heavy damage, so the poor numbers are likely due to loss of texture or rounding, as no major microchips or problem areas are identified. This is somewhat confirmed in the impact test. After the 9 bashes into the pine piano leg, we find that the number has not been increased, in fact has been somewhat reduced, likely due to me not testing the exact same portion of edge, but I think we can conclude that there was not a lot of damage to this edge. This is right in the impact zone, which you can see because of the sawdust around, and you don't see any of that indentation we saw in the 7.5. And I promised my microscope skills will get better, but this is the lineup with this edge being listed all the way on the right against the 2 top performing dual grit edges so far and the other best fine edge, so you can compare the numbers. Feel free to pause that if you want to analyze it a bit. If you want to see the test I've been referring to with the Venev 7.5 Micron waterstone, I'll put a link on screen now. For all the rest of you, I'll just say peace out from the home slice. I hope you guys have a good one.